All right, today we are diving deep into a really cool vision brewing in the Cardano ecosystem. A developer, Karsten Silberg, is trying to solve a huge puzzle. How do you take a blockchain that's built like a fortress for security and turn it into a super fast payment system that anyone can use? His answer is a project called Chimera. So let's get into it. Right off the bat, you need to understand this isn't just about cool tech. At its core, this is a mission. Karsten isn't just trying to build a faster transaction system. He's talking about reaching the unbanked. We're talking about providing financial tools to millions of people who are just completely left out of the loop. That human element, well, that's what's really driving this whole thing. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll dig into that big mission. Then we'll look at the specific roadblocks Chimera is trying to smash through. After that, we'll introduce the main idea, take a peek under the hood at its three key parts, and finally, see where the project is at right now and what's next. Okay, let's start with the big picture. Since 2020, Karsten's been obsessed with this idea of making Cardano useful for more than just, trading tokens back and forth. He sees this massive gap in the market for a system that can handle all the tiny, everyday payments that make up our actual lives. I mean, really think about it. We're talking about buying your coffee, shopping online, paying for games, or even just getting a bus ticket. These are the kinds of things that regular finance handles without a problem, but they're still a huge headache for most blockchains. The whole vision here is to make crypto a practical, everyday tool for the average person. So, if the idea is that simple, what's the holdup? Why aren't we all buying coffee with crypto already? Well, it turns out there are some major roadblocks when you try to use a main blockchain, what we call a layer 1, like Cardano, for these tiny split-second payments. And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? First, the delay. You can't just stand at the register for a few minutes waiting for your payment to go through. Then you've got volatility. The price of your latte can't be jumping up and down while you're trying to pay. The costs, even if they seem low for crypto, are way too high for a $2 purchase. And finally, there's the complexity of it all. Most people just aren't going to mess with long addresses and transaction fees just to buy a soda. And this is exactly where Chimera enters the picture. The idea isn't to change Cardano itself. Instead, it's about building a specialized system right on top of it. Think of it like building an express lane on a busy highway, one that's designed for one thing and one thing only: fast, cheap payments. That's what we call a layer 2 solution. So what is a layer 2 sidechain? Let's use that highway analogy again. Imagine Cardano's main blockchain is this ultra-secure highway for giant armored trucks carrying gold bars. It's safe, but it's slow. A layer 2 sidechain like Chimera is like building a parallel express lane just for cars. It's way faster, cheaper, and built to handle tons of quick little trips, but it's still connected to the security of that main highway. This chart just makes it so clear. On one side, you have layer 1, the fortress. It's perfect for huge, important transactions where you don't mind waiting a bit for maximum security. On the other side, you've got Chimera's layer 2. It's all about being nimble with near-instant speeds and super low costs, making it absolutely perfect for those day-to-day micropayments. It's all about using the right tool for the job. Okay, so we get the what and the why, but how does this thing actually work? Karsten's design really boils down to three core pieces that all work together to make this payment express lane a reality. These are the three pillars of the whole system. You've got the wallets, which is what you, the user, would actually see and touch. Then there's the bridge, which moves money between the two layers. And finally, the validators, which are like the referees keeping the whole system honest. So let's break them down, starting with the wallets. The very first piece of this puzzle is all about user experience. I mean, come on, if you want people to use this every single day, it has to be dead simple. And that's the whole point of these family and enterprise wallets. So these are not your typical complicated crypto wallets. They're built so a whole family or a small business can manage funds together. Payments are as easy as scanning a QR code, something we all know how to do. The way it works is you have a really simple, light app on your phone, and that talks to a main wallet, maybe on a cheap little computer like a Raspberry Pi, that does all the heavy lifting in the background. And with support for 24 languages, the goal here is clearly global from day one. All right, next up, the bridge. This thing is absolutely critical. It's the piece of the puzzle that lets you move your money from the main Cardano blockchain onto the fast Chimera sidechain, and just as important, lets you move it back out again. Now, this is where Karsten hit a classic engineering problem. The existing ways of building bridges just weren't going to cut it. With a custodial bridge, you have to hand over your funds to some central company, which is a huge security risk. But the other option, a non-custodial bridge that uses just smart contracts, can get super slow and expensive when you're talking about millions of people using it. So what do? Neither one was the right fit.
And here is the genius solution. This is the real aha moment. Chimera uses a hybrid model. Getting money in is designed to be simple and fast. You just send funds to an admin wallet that bundles everything up efficiently. But getting money out, the part that needs to be bulletproof, that relies completely on a secure, decentralized smart contract. So you get the best of both worlds, speed when you're depositing and ironclad security when you're withdrawing.
The final piece of the engine is the validator network. So if the wallets are the steering wheel and the bridge is the on-ramp, the validators are the ones making sure all the traffic is following the rules. They are the ultimate source of truth for every single payment on the Chimera network. So here's how it works. In simple terms, when you pay for something, your wallet reports that transaction, but it's not final, not yet. It only becomes final once the validator network agrees that it's a legitimate transaction. This system stops anyone from making up fake payments or trying to spend the same money twice. And what's really cool is that Karsten's design allows pretty much anyone to become a validator, which keeps the whole sidechain decentralized. So we've covered the grand vision, the problem it's solving, and the pretty clever three-part solution. But the big question is, where is this project right now? Let's take a look at the journey so far. Things have moved pretty fast. The very first concept was just presented last month. Now, that idea has already grown into the full sidechain model we've just been talking about. But you gotta remember, this is all happening at the lab level. It's a proof of concept, it's not a live system you can use today. Karsten's idea for the next step is to see if an organization like the Cardano Foundation might be interested in taking the project and building it into a real official system.
And this little fact really puts it all into perspective. Right now, Karsten is building this whole thing in the super secure language Rust, basically by himself. It's honestly incredible and shows how dedicated he is, but it also proves his point. For a system that's supposed to serve millions, it needs to grow into a much bigger community-wide effort.
And that really brings us to the final big question that Karsten is posing to everyone. Is what Cardano has now, with its focus on trading and DeFi, is that enough, or does it need a dedicated, purpose-built payment system like Chimera to really hit the mainstream and actually reach those millions of unbanked people around the world? It's a huge question, and the answer could really shape the future of the entire ecosystem.